People didn't need phones to begin with. The first cell phone was ahead of its time. But when people saw what a phone could do, they went flying off the shelves. According to Fernholz in 2014, there are around 6.8 billion cell phone subscribers, and there are around 7 billion people. It took a little over 20 years for that to happen.
Let me take a selfie.
Stewart recalls that 40 years ago on April 13, 1973, a Motorola employee named Martin Cooper placed a call to headquarters at Bell Labs in New Jersey, making it the first mobile phone. People wanted to talk to friends and family without having to be at home. New Again talks about when the clamshell phone was made January 3, 1993, by Motorola and Microtech. People wanted smaller and more advanced phones compared to the brick phone.
The candy bar Nokia came out with some of the same features as the clamshell phone in 2004. According to Nguyen, it was made like that because it was approximately the size and shape of, well, a bar of candy. It was a more durable phone that was even smaller than before. Nguyen said in the mid-90s the Elites came out, being one of the first flip phones. People wanted something that was smaller than the candy bar and the clamshell.
According to Thorne, November 2000 saw the first camera phone hit the market, the Sharp JSH4, but it failed to make such of an impact. In fact, it never made it out of Japan. We could go as far to say the first camera phone was actually a bit of a flop. Since we always have our phone on us, we now always have cameras on us. Cell phone cameras make it easy to take and share pictures and videos. Nguyen said that the next phone that was made was the satellite phone that would connect to a satellite in orbit. They wanted a phone that could be able to reach the internet and make calls to anyone anywhere.
Evolution explains that the Personal Digital Assistant, or PDA for short, was a portable touchscreen keyboard that you could write in. People needed something that would keep everything that they needed into one mobile device. Nokia is one of the most durable phone that was also one of the smallest according to Evolution. People needed a phone that wouldn't break or get damaged.
Evolution recalls that Razr was a small flip phone that was newer with all the new apps. People wanted small phones that had new apps that could do more things. Evolution remembers that people weren't ready for the iPhone when it came out in 2007, but as time progressed, people saw that it was like a PDA, and they flew off the shelves. People wanted something that was new and that they could call, text, had a touchscreen, and something that had all the new apps.
In 2015, Burns said that Sony came out with a worthwhile waterproof phone. People kept dropping them in the water and they kept getting ruined, and people wanted a more reliable phone that they could take to the pool or the beach.
As time flew by, phones became smaller and more out of the box as well as off the shelves.
In 2025, phones became glass to make it seem holographic and make it really light. The only problem was that it was really breakable. So in 2030, they made a phone that opened up like a fan and it would have all the apps within sight at once. But then, folded up, it was about the same size as a pocket knife.
When 2035 came along, they made phones that would be worn on their wrist, and they were the smallest that had ever gotten at this point. People demanded something that they could always have with them and they could use their pockets to hold other valuables instead of cell phones.
By 2045, everything was holographic, not just keyboards, but the apps too. This device was made so that all apps would be present while the person is using the device. In 2050, they created a phone that was so light and malleable that it was almost like a piece of paper, that had a screen on it. People were having issues with breaking their phones, so they made a phone that would almost never break.
Then in 2055, they made phones that you could wear like glasses, and things would be seen without having to hold anything. Eventually, in 2060, they got so small that they could be worn on your fingers. Something small that you could always have with you and never lose because it's always at the tip of your fingers.
By 2065, phones became the smallest ever, and it was a chip that you could put in your tooth that would do everything for you. All you had to do was think. As phones evolved, everyone needed them, and now that everyone has them, nobody can go a day without it.
People these days can't carry on a conversation without looking at their phone. Kids today are so attached to phones that they have no personal imagination, but the quote-unquote imagination that they do have comes from the phones themselves. We challenge you to go a day without your phones and see if you're controlling the phone or if the phone controls you.